Charlotte, Atlanta, Richmond, Philadelphia, Roanoke. 5 airports, 4 flights, 1 day. Will I make it back to my destination, or will fate give us other plans? Find out right now. Well, good morning from Charlotte Airport. I've already gotten checked in, have my boarding passes up and ready. I just gotta get through security. Well, Charlotte still has some renovations to do, especially for their security line. Our first aircraft registration spotted. This is a 21.2-year-old E-145LR delivered to American Eagle on October 27, 2003. November 657 Alpha Echo is flying American 5932 from Charlotte to Blounteville. Alright everybody, I just got through security. It is 8:11 right now. My flight leaves at 10, so I am walking through the E-gates trying to find some planes to spot. Next aircraft is November 908 Alpha November. This Boeing 737-823 is 25.7 years old, delivered on May 13, 1999. It was stored between March of 2020 and March of 23 due to COVID. This aircraft is flying as American Airlines 1679 between Charlotte and Boston. Looking on jet photos, this aircraft once wore the old but gold chrome American Airlines livery. Chrome looks so good on planes, I'm not sure why we don't do that anymore. Going on to our next aircraft, we have an ex-American Eagle E-140LR, registered November 809 Alpha Echo. It is 23.2 years old, delivered on October 23, 2001. Contour Aviation is a newer airline that serves underserved or unserved rural airports that have no Big 3 connectivity to connect to larger hubs like Charlotte. This aircraft just came back from Stanton with a flight time of 42 minutes. I'm really giddy about today. I've been wanting to fly on a 717 for ages now, and I've finally gotten the opportunity to. That'll be great. So what I think about doing with this travel channel is to showcase not just the flight itself, but also the planes I've spotted around, and find out the history of the aircraft. Because right now there's some aircraft with very rich histories, like the 717 I'm about to fly on, which, if I'm not mistaken, was once a TWA-owned airplane, which is just fascinating to me because I never thought that any plane now these days would be from TWA in the early 2000s. Next aircraft is an American Airlines A320-215, registration November 112 Uniform Sierra, delivered to U.S. Airways on December 22, 1999. American took over the aircraft in April 8, 2015 after the merger. This aircraft is flying American Airlines 1695 to Dallas. Next up is an American Airlines A321-231, registered November 118 November. It is 10.5 years old and flying as American Airlines 2058 from Charlotte to Orlando. The next aircraft I could not get good pictures of, but I did see it. This is a 23.5-year-old PSA Airlines CRJ701ER, registered November 500 Alpha Echo, flying as American Airlines 5378, taking the jaunt to Fort Wayne. In this picture, I have 2 aircraft to share about. The one in front is a 25.7-year-old A320-232, registration November 653 Alpha Whiskey. It was delivered originally to American West Airlines on May 27, 1999. This aircraft was also operated by U.S. Airways before being handed over to American. The other aircraft in the background with a visible registration is November 107 Uniform Sierra, originally delivered to U.S. Airways on August 16, 1999. This plane is flying American Airlines 2717 to Cozumel. Don't ask me where that is. This plane, in the same batch as 653 Alpha Whiskey, November 651 Alpha Whiskey, was delivered to American West Airlines on September 23, 1998. This plane is taking the short hop over to Tampa this morning. In the background, I caught November 751 Uniform Whiskey, delivered to U.S. Airways on September 20, 2000, making this aircraft 24.3 years old. Today, it is taking a flight from Charlotte to Georgetown with a flight time of 1 hour and 57 minutes. Our next Airbus is November 822 Alpha Whiskey, once flew for American West Airlines and delivered to them on January 17, 2001. Before going through U.S. Airways and finally American on April 8, 2015, making this aircraft 24 years old. Speed! Oh! At the end of the hallway that leads to the A gates, there's a really cool ex-American MD-80 tail here. So here's some information on it, because there's a tail number and I'm a nerd. This was once an MD-82 registered November 481 Alpha Alpha flying the skies from 1988 until 2016. It is listed as stored, but it looks more like scrapped and tailless to me. Reminds me of a certain Delta jet. Okay, I just found my gate. It's basically the opposite of the E gates. The last one I flew out of here, which is like E49. This is A37, which is the last of all the A concourses. So I gotta go back, find some breakfast, and get ready for my flight, which is soon. There's also a Detroit-bound 717-200 that is right next to my gate, funnily enough. So that'll be fun. They're departing way before us because their flight's already there. I still got a couple minutes to wait, more than an hour actually, but... So I had some more time on my hands, so guess what I did with that time while getting breakfast? Plane spotting. Our first banana of the day. This is November 969 November Kilo, delivered to Spirit Airlines on November 22nd, 2022. Finally, not an old aircraft that went through several airline mergers. Looking at you, U.S. Airways, American. Alright, Frontier Airlines. In the golden checkered warbler livery, this is an almost brand new Airbus A321-271neo with a cabin flex option. It is 0.9 years old and flying out to Philadelphia. I could have taken this flight to avoid my 3 other flights today, but that would not be fun. Alright, just a quick PSA here. Please learn how to walk on the people movers, because it's really annoying to be stuck behind you when you are not moving. Alright, now to plane spotting. Although I could not get any of these tail numbers, I did get some pretty pictures, except for the glare on the windows. Alright, 2 metal birds of this one picture. The main focus of the picture is an American 737 MAX 8 registered November 334 Tango Lima, ready for its trip to Chicago, whilst the 737-823 registered November 912 November gets ready for a flight to Punta Cana. 912 November used to wear the old chrome livery of American but got repainted while American was in restructuring. This Boeing 717-2BD registered November 938 Alpha Tango is 18.7 years old, delivered to AirTran on April 28, 2006, before being sold to Delta on December 26, 2014. As said earlier, 938 Alpha Tango is flying out of Detroit with a flight time of 1 hour and 13 minutes. As departure time drew closer, I was in anticipation of the amazing experience I would have for the next hour. Let's get on board this 717-200. I'm going to be honest here, I was so stoked to hitch a ride on a 717 down to Atlanta. For Delta being my favorite airline, I knew I was in for a good treat. Oh, needs a little cleaning down there, but whatever. I don't expect much else from this beautiful aircraft. Alright, after that amazing takeoff, we are in the air, headed to Atlanta. I did have a vlog of this, but it sounded like... To Atlanta. Just look at this view. Yeah, and that's not going to fly. Anyways, this aircraft is November 926 Tango Whiskey. Was definitely passed around a lot in its early years. It was delivered to TWA under the registration November 412 Tango Whiskey before American had it for a short time. Then it was sold to AirTran and re-registered to its current registration. Finally, Delta took hold of it, and you know what Delta does with their 7-1s. They never let them go. Wow, look at that. We're already coming in for a landing into Atlanta. Time flies when you're yapping about old aircraft. Coming into Atlanta, I have never seen so many planes at once before. Of course, this being one of the most efficient and the busiest airport in the world, it's amazing to get a front seat view of everything going on here. As we parked, I got to take a little look around. After everybody disembarked, I was in no hurry. I even got a taste of how it would be on the worst window seats on the 717. At least the new A220s don't have rear-mounted engines. Anyways, I went up to see the flight deck, and it looks quite modern for its time. Good job, McDonnell Douglas. Anyways, this is a beautiful aircraft and perhaps one of the most exciting flights I've ever been on. Alright, welcome to Atlanta. This is beautiful. I have not been here in ages. And oh wow, we already have so many flights here, so I'm going to continue plane spotting. And plane spotting I did. Let's start off with the taxi into Atlanta, starting off with that Airbus tail over there. That is November 309 Delta November, an 8.4-year-old A321-211 delivered to Delta Airlines on August 18, 2016. 309 Delta November is flying transcontinental over to Los Angeles with a flight time of 4.5 hours. This 717 is November 894 Alpha Tango delivered to AirTran on December 16, 2004. Sold to Delta on February 10th and was stored between December 2020 and March of 2023 due to COVID. This mad dog is flying Delta 1248 over to Harrisburg. Alright, next one is two more aircraft with visible registrations. The Airbus behind the 717 is November 356 Delta November, 6.6 years flying the Delta colors from June 19, 2018. 356 Delta November is taking the jaunt to Windsor Locks, or better known as Bradley. The A319 on pushback is November 334 November Bravo, delivered to Northwest on January 17, 2002. When Northwest merged with Delta, so did the airplane. It's been flying 23 years, and today it's flying Delta 1472 to Key West. Alright, back to the 7-1s. I swear there will be other jets soon. November 917 Alpha Tango was delivered to AirTran on December 20th, 2001. It was stored December 2014 until Delta picked it up on April 8th, 2015. Today it's flying DL-1627 to Mobile, Alabama. Alright, I swear this is the last 7-1. November 951 Alpha Tango is the registration, delivered to, you guessed it, AirTran. And just like 971 was in the same batch, getting stored in 2014, and getting sold to Delta June 24th, 2015. This aircraft is taking the jaunt to Madison with an hour 41 on the clock. Alright, now heading across the airport to spot. I have 2.5 hours before my next flight, so I'll utilize that time by going to every concourse and spotting as many planes as possible. Alright, first wide body catch. We have a Boeing 767-332ER, registered November 196 Delta November. She's been flying the Delta colors for 27.2 years, flying Delta 368 to Kahului. Thank you, Google. With a flight time just shy of 9.5 hours. Alright, I did not get a picture of this aircraft, but since I wrote the flight number from the board down, I can still talk about the aircraft. If I took pictures of all these planes, I would not have made my flight even with 2.5 hours. So this is November 820 Delta X-Ray, originally delivered to Shanghai Airlines on June 24, 2004, and was sold to Delta on March 17, 2016. It is taking the flight down to Miami with a flight time of 1 hour and 23 minutes. Some of these I didn't catch the tail numbers of, but I wrote down the countless flight and tail numbers that I did see, so I will do my best to match up a picture to the same aircraft variant, even though it might not be the same registration. I was too caught up spotting to really focus on seeing the registration. Anyways, this Airbus A321-211 behind the 757 is November 125 November Delta, delivered to Delta Airlines on October 15, 2021. She is in the batch of some of the last ever produced A321ceos before switching over to the Neo. The last ever CEO was November 129 Delta November, which is in Minneapolis at this time. Alright, a visible registration. This is a Boeing 757-232, registered November 682 Delta Alpha, flying the Delta colors for 32 years, and delivered exactly 32 years from the recording of this section. It is also flying to Miami with a flight time of 1 hour and 32 minutes. Next up is November 900 Papa Charlie, a Boeing 757-26 Delta. She has been flying for Delta Airlines for 28 years and is taking the flight down to Fort Lauderdale with a flight time of 1 hour and 24 minutes. Wow, here's a Korean Air Boeing 747-8 Bravo 5 taxiing for takeoff. This is Hotel Lima 7637, delivered to Korean Air on June 27, 2016. It is embarking on the longest 747-8 route back to its home in Seoul with a flight time of a whopping 15 hours and 13 minutes. Here's the takeoff roll. Side note, this was very difficult to film because of all the metal in the way of the window, but oh well.
I'm right here. That is crazy.
Alright, another 2-pack for us today. We have a Boeing 737-932ER, registered November 924 Delta Zulu. It was delivered to Delta Airlines on April 29, 2019, and is flying to Cincinnati. We're taxiing behind is a Delta Airlines Airbus A321-271NX, registered November 510 Delta Echo. It is 2.5 years old and flying to Phoenix Sky Harbor today. Alright, another 2 planes. Here's our Boeing 737-900 in the background. That is November 953 Delta Zulu, delivered to Thai Lion Air. Wow. On October 29, 2013, before it was stored in August 2021, and then it was sold off to Delta Airlines on October 14, 2021. It is flying Delta 1265 to Knoxville with a very short flight time of only 27 minutes. The A321 in front of us is November 325 Delta November, flying the Delta colors since its delivery on August 11, 2016. Today it is flying to Raleigh-Durham with a flight time of 54 minutes. First special livery of the day, this is November 521 Delta November, flying the Delta Team USA colors. 521 Delta November was delivered to Delta Airlines on May 3, 2024, and is flying long haul down to Cape Town, South Africa, with a total in-flight time of 13 hours and 48 minutes. Wow, I've never seen 4 757-200s lined up in a row like this ever before. This is quite a treat for me, especially being a 757 lover. Here we have a front row seat of November 678 Delta Lima, delivered to Delta Airlines on June 26, 1992, making this aircraft the ripe young age of 32.6 years. She just landed in from her flight from Sarasota. Well, this is it. Here's my ride up to Richmond. Standing in the jetway of flight number 2 from Atlanta to Richmond. I'm waiting in line with everybody else. But yeah, I have a fun story that I'll probably share in a bit. But yeah, I'm getting on board the 757-200. Always wanted to do this. I'm so happy. I can't wait. There's my plane, and there's my seat. I paid for another seat, but apparently I got moved for some reason, even though I paid extra to sit there. It was by the engine, so I could get a really nice view of the takeoff and have a much better sound. But, oh well, it is what it is. It's a 757. I'm not mad. The cabin was also really open and spacious, something I have never really seen before since I almost exclusively fly regional airlines. And I also have an in-flight entertainment, which is also a very big luxury, since I've only seen that on international travel. Pretty soon, we were pushing back from our gate and starting up our lovely, powerful Pratt & Whitney PW2000 turbofan engines. Taxiing beside us is November 676 Delta Lima, a beautiful 757-232 delivered in May 28, 1992, making her 32.7 years young. She's flying DL-1720 from Atlanta to Tampa with a flight time of 1 hour and 9 minutes. Here she is taking off. A beautiful takeoff and a steep climb out of Atlanta. I could not get enough of this view. Before we get too far into this flight, here's some information about our aircraft we're flying in. This is November 658 Delta Lima, delivered to Delta Airlines on May 24, 1990. This aircraft is one of the oldest 757s in Delta's fleet. It has a surprising age of 34.7 years and has been flying in the Delta colors all her life. Today, she flies Delta 1437 from Atlanta to Richmond with a flight time of 1 hour and 4 minutes. The cabin looks exceptional. Factoring in the aircraft's age, I saw no issues on our flight. The interior looks new and updated. Delta sure knows how to keep the old aircraft looking brand new. We soon tore through the clouds to our cruise altitude, where I got treated to some wonderful views. I was so astonished on how the plane looked and felt as a passenger. I'd always wondered how it would be to fly it. Unfortunately, I'm just too young to pilot the 757. On a happier note, a tour around my seat commenced, and even though I had 2 strangers to my right, I still felt like I had plenty of room, especially considering that I'm 6'1", or 185 centimeters. Once we started to settle in, the cabin crew passed out beverages. I took a water and some Biscoff since I ate my burrito from Atlanta on this flight too. Anyways, the story I said I would share later, well, here it is now. I decided to block off 20 minutes before the time the plane said it was going to board, but I must have mistaken that for departure time. So I was getting my burrito after plane spotting when my phone told me that my plane was boarding as of a couple minutes ago, one concourse over. Typical. I quickly got my burrito, paid, and sprinted out, only to find an escalator packed with people. There was no way I could squeeze through that. By the time I neared the bottom, I heard the door closing chimes of the plane train, and I bolted to the nearest door, barely squeezing into the tightly packed train. I got a little applause as I neared the correct concourse and ran to my plane, burrito swinging in hand. When I got to my plane, I realized they just called my group, and I made it on time. I proceeded to watch everybody else board for the next 20 minutes. 757 boarding times aren't a joke, by the way, and so I ran across Atlanta for almost no reason. I really did not want to miss this flight though, since it is a very special flight to me. And look at that, our spoilers are coming up, which means we are going down. Ready or not, here's the landing into Richmond. On the rollout, the plane was a little bumpy, of which I tried to catch, and I think I did pretty good. I was a little worried, but not much.
Welcome to Richmond, where the local time is 2:49. Please take the seat with your seatbelt securely fastened and carry on items stowed until the captain has turned off the fasten seatbelt sign. Be careful when opening overhead bins to avoid injury from items that may have shifted during flight. And please ensure you have all of your personal belongings before you deploy. Thank you once again for choosing Delta, and have a great holiday season.
Alright, here's an aircraft with some real history that I spotted as we taxied into our gate. This is November 828 Charlie Alpha. She started her career with Avianca as a Star Alliance delivery aircraft under the registration November 279 Alpha Victor. Anyways, it flipped airlines and leasing companies for a while before ending up in storage in February 2023. And then National Airlines saved the plane and now uses it for charters. 828 Charlie Alpha is 13.1 years old and is flying to West Palm Beach with a flight time of 1 hour and 54 minutes. Alright, parked at the gate. I let everybody disembark while I had an exclusive tour of the flight deck. It looked pretty dark, but with a little bit of photo editing, it looks worlds better. I really enjoyed this short 757 flight, and I also got a view of where my original seat was booked. But I think that Delta Airlines had different configurations for seats. By the time Delta knew that they were using this configuration, the seat was already taken by someone else. I still got a window seat, and at the end of the day, does it even matter? Okay, off of the Delta flight. I'm now headed, I don't know, I gotta go check the departure board, but I'm supposed to be on an American E-145 up to Philadelphia. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. So I just found out that I can't get to the A concourse from the B concourse in Richmond because there's security in the middle of it and there's not a secure place to go through. So I guess I'm going to have to go through security with my little bag of food that I got in Charlotte. I thought I would only have to go through security once, but like, okay, whatever. Alright, first up for spotting, we have a JetBlue A320-232, registered November 605 Juliet Bravo, sporting the Boston Red Sox livery. At the time of recording, it's almost her 20-year-old birthday, which will be on January 17th. Today, she is flying from Richmond to Orlando with a flight time of 1 hour and 40 minutes. Pushing back, we have an American 737-800, registered November 864 November, flying American since December 10th, 2010. She is 14.2 years old, taking American 2348 to Dallas with a flight time of 2 hours and 58 minutes. Next, parked at the gate is November 516 Juliet Bravo. Interesting fact about this plane is that 516 is the 6th oldest aircraft still flying in JetBlue's fleet. This A320-232 is making her way to Newark with a flight time of 41 minutes. Next is a Prime Air Boeing 7673P6ERBDSF. What does that mean? Boeing 7673P6ERBDSF. Meaning. Oh! Okay, it's a B-deck special freighter, being similar to the Boeing converted freighter. Very interesting. Anyways, this aircraft has a very rich history. It was originally delivered to Gulf Air on November 29, 1990, sold to Delta Airlines on April 22, 1997, and flew Delta most of its life until November 2017, when it was stored and converted to a freighter in November 2019. It was finally sold to Amazon Prime Air on November 29, 2019, as a 29-year-old birthday. She is now 34.3 years old and just landed from Cincinnati with a flight time of 1 hour and 4 minutes. Even with two 757s in the background, I still had an eerie feeling. Departure time drew closer to my Philadelphia-bound flight, but our plane was nowhere to be seen. I only had an hour on the ground in Philadelphia before my Roanoke-bound flight, so I was really starting to stress out. Boards in 7 minutes. 7 minutes. How is it 7 minutes when the flight isn't even here? I spy a banana in the distance. And a blue 737-700. While we wait for our aircraft to land, here's a Southwest Boeing 737-7 Quebec 8, registered November 7856 Alpha. First delivered to Virgin Blue Airlines on December 17, 2001, sold to Virgin Australia on May 4, 2001, and was with them for a very short time until November 2001 when it was stored. She was finally sold to Aerolíneas Argentinas on February 25, 2012, and then stored February 2017, sold to Southwest on June 1, 2017. Quite the world traveler, if I might say. She just landed from Chicago Midway with a flight time of 1 hour and a half. Here is a GoJet CRJ 550 registered November 537 Golf Juliet. GoJet is a regional subsidiary of United and operates under the name United Express. Even I don't quite fully understand how regional subsidiaries operate, so I can't really explain. Anyways, 537 Golf Juliet is operating UA4176 that just landed from Newark with a flight time of 55 minutes. So my flight out of Richmond has been misplaced, I guess is the correct word. They had to return to Philadelphia for some mechanical issue, and we don't know when we're going to see our plane, which is kind of scary because I only had an hour layover in Philadelphia before my flight to Roanoke. So I might see if I can get back to Charlotte and then head over to Roanoke. But I'm stuck in a very long line and it doesn't seem like it's moving anytime soon. So I'll keep you all updated. So my worries became even more real. I was stuck in Richmond for a couple more hours than planned. I watched my original flight land and take off again while waiting for a Charlotte-bound A319 that was over 4 hours late. I also couldn't get back to Roanoke because all the flights were completely full. So I had to settle for Charlotte where my ride would meet me to take me home. So I got some more problems. My flight down to Charlotte, this says it leaves at 6:28. This says it will leave at 6:32, and Flight Radar says it's supposed to leave at 8:27, which I'm not sure which one's right or wrong or whatever. It doesn't make any sense, but This day's been enough as it is. It turned out Flight Radar 24's estimate was correct. As I watched a Delta 757 come in, I got a photo of my missing plane at the gate. I was also really starting to get irritated by the never-ending Christmas carols being played on the speakers. I also watched a UPS A300 roll up. Overall, I was getting quite exhausted from today, and these airport experiences just put a bad end to the day. Okay, so we just got word that our flight just took off from Charlotte, and it should be here in the next 40 minutes, I guess. And then, and only then, we'll be able to get down back to Charlotte. Not our original destination, but that's how it's going to be. Well, our flight just turned up, finally. Now, in about an hour, we can get on our way down to Charlotte. And then that'll be the end of this day. After our plane turned up, we were getting boarded for our flight back to Charlotte. This is our ride, a beautiful Airbus A319-115. But more on the aircraft history when we get up in the skies. There's my view from the window, more ideal than the 757 flight. And there's my in-flight entertainment. Not ideal. Also, the seat to my left had a broken IFE too, and the IFEs have privacy screens. Usually ideal, but definitely not today. Okay, I have to admit, the climb out over the city was stunning. Not as stunning as LaGuardia landing or night takeoff, but nothing can beat that. Anyways, the flight had decent legroom. I had enough space for myself, but if someone were 6'8", they'd probably have a harder time fitting in this seat. It had less legroom than the Boeing 717 earlier this morning. This is our plane, an 11.3-year-old Airbus A319-119 flying the American colors since delivery on October 1st, 2013. She is taking me to Charlotte with a flight time of 55 minutes. The cabin looked clean and spacious, and it was a very gentle ride down to Charlotte. My flight experiences were a lot better than my airport experiences in Richmond, that's for sure. Looks like we're turning inbound for landing. So, here's the landing. Well, back in Charlotte. I'm not sure if I'll do this again, but it was an experience, and I kind of needed to do this. It was fun though. It was very fun. But now I just have to get out of here and into a bed. Oh, the bed's 3 hours away, but I'm really tired now. I've been up since 4 a.m. But whatever, never mind that. Fighting through the window reflections, here's a Boeing 777-200 I found. Unfortunately, I cannot identify it, but it looks like it's pushing back. I don't have any recordings of writing down tail numbers or flight numbers, unfortunately. Parked at the gate is an American Airbus A320-214, registered November 127 Uniform Whiskey. She was delivered to U.S. Airways on February 25, 2010, and transferred to American Airlines upon merging. She is 14.9 years old and is flying American Airlines 2395 to Memphis with a flight time of 1 hour and 22 minutes. Last spotted aircraft, this is November 751 Alpha November, an American Airlines Boeing 777-223ER, flying the American colors since delivery on April 4, 2001. Tonight, she is taking the hop over to Munich with a flight time of 7 hours and 55 minutes. I love the unhinged chaos that is passenger pickup. At least I'm getting out of here, that's for sure. So here's my handy dandy flight rating scale on a scale of 1 to 10 for each categories. So for airport experience on Delta 3024, I have an 8 out of 10. The flight was the farthest possible gate from security, some dirty windows for spotting. The A concourse could use some furnishings on long passageways and felt like a white box, so earned an 8. Security earned an 8, with the line was long due to a security dog running around for half the time. They stopped halfway and just let everybody pass by. Dining was a 7, not many breakfast snack options near the far A gates. Crew conversations was a 9, very good conversations I had with pilots and cabin crew as they were going to their flights. Aircraft was a 10, aircraft experience was phenomenal, I got the seat I wanted, and had all the sights and sounds I could ever want. Aircraft cleanliness was a 7. There were food crumbs on the ground, and the aircraft interior looked old and well-worn, even though that was kind of the goal of the journey, to fly an old plane so it wins some points back. The aircraft crew was a 10. I was greeted with some warm smiles and welcome to the cockpit post-flight, and it seemed like a good amount of time with the crew. I got to learn some cool facts about the Boeing 717, like the part that is used to open the cockpit windows is the same as the DC-3 thrust lever. Landing was a 9. It was nice and smooth, easy brakes, and a relatively normal taxi time. Overall, it earned a 68 out of 80, out of a score of 80 possible points. This is the flight review for 1437 Atlanta to Richmond. Airport experience got a 7 out of 10. Good airport experience, excellent spotting views, and a variety of aircraft. Lost some points with my mad dash due to my own stupidity. Dining was a 9. Besides me making my burrito because I was stressed out and forgot about the salsa, best airport burrito ever. The crew conversations were a 10. The airport crews also really enjoyed talking to me because I expressed interest in flying for Delta. I also got a ton of trading cards. The aircraft was a 6. Absolutely stunning 757-200. Very powerful, insane climb performance and cabin experience. Loses a lot of points due to losing the seat I paid extra for and a bumpy rollout. Aircraft cleanliness was a 10. Interior looks stunning and modern, well maintained especially for a 34.6-year-old jet. Aircraft crew was a 10. Amazing, got tons of pictures of me up in the captain's seat of the 757 and talked to me about being a Delta pilot. The landing was a 6. Smooth landing, but the aircraft felt unnecessarily bumpy on rollout. It felt like a gear issue, but it might be normal and I'm just not used to a 757 landing. Overall, it was a 58 out of 70, and there was no security section needed, so there's only 70 points instead of 80. Here's my flight review for American Airlines 868 from Richmond to Atlanta. The airport experience was a 1. I had to spend a lot longer in Richmond than I would have hoped, and it was a combined issue for a lot of reasons I will explain further later. Security was a 6. It was stupid that I had to get clear through security to access the other side of the airport. It earned some points though because there was no line and it was a quick in and out. Dining was a 3. At 5:30 there was only one place that opened to get actual food, and the selections were alright. Earns a point for being a really good shrimp po' boy, and another point for the waiter being accommodating and checking on me often. Crew conversations was a 3. I walked out with the Delta pilots and had excellent conversations with them, but the communications from operations to the passengers were terrible. I was standing in line for a good hour and a half trying to get rebooked on American, so most points were lost there. The aircraft was fine, and it earned a 5. The aircraft was fine, broken in-flight entertainment, and 4 hours late. The aircraft cleanliness was a 9. The aircraft was clean. I didn't see any major issues with it. I scored a window seat and rebooking too. The aircraft crew was a 9. The crew were kind and I quickly stopped into the flight deck, but I was really tired by the end of the day and my ride was waiting for me, so I didn't talk to them long. Landing was an 8, good soft landing, smooth rollout, and quick taxi to the gate, and overall it was a 44 out of my rating of possible 80 points. Here's some parting information about my flight. I was not paid by anybody to do this. The flight tickets were a holiday gift. My thought for planning this trip was I wanted to experience old Delta jets. The planning of this trip was probably the most difficult. I knew Charlotte to Atlanta always flew 717s, but I also wanted to fly the 777-200. So I looked and I thought of ways to stay relatively close to home due to flight costs and ease of transportation back home if the unthinkable happened. With that criteria, I chose the 757-200 to Richmond. Then I needed to get back home, which is Roanoke, so American Eagle E-145s were cheapest and the easiest. Unfortunately, I did not make it back home and had to settle with Charlotte because all the Roanoke flights were full. I also wanted to document this journey to show how a first-time solo teenage traveler sees situations and handles them, while also having the freedom to be a nerd when I spot airplanes and end up yapping for a while. This aircraft made me learn so much about myself, the aviation community, airline history, and the traveling public. Anyways, I hope you found this video interesting and worthwhile to you, as I'm still new to YouTube. I'm very open to suggestions and what you want to see in future videos. Look out for future spotting videos, but anyways, until then, I'll see you in the skies.